Hi, happy day. My name is Jenna Poole, clinical nutritionist, and today we're going to dive into hormones and the number one thing that you need to do first before, on your journey to resetting them. And I say reset because the way that we live today is not true to how our biological primal beings are designed to live. And so what ends up happening is that we have all these different influences, from chemicals to radiation to the different foods and food-like products that we consume, to stresses, and our exposure to nature is really reduced. So all of these factors interplay on how your hormones, or interfere with how your hormones are going to work. And essentially a hormone is like a messenger. So I love using the analogy of the Australia Post system. So if you are in Australia, we have if you want to send a letter or a parcel anywhere, Australia Post is probably one of the most well-known ways to do that. So it's just a postal system. So if you want to get your post sent from Melbourne to Darwin, go to the post office, send your parcel, and it gets shipped via courier to Darwin, so it gets to where it needs to be. Your hormones essentially are the postal trucks, so your body will have a message, and your hormones will signal that message, so they will carry that message through, and then your body and other chemicals and reactions take place to take action on that message. And so if you're not getting a period, for example, that pathway is called a HPA axis, or the HPO axis, which stands for hypothalamus, pituitary, and ovaries. So there's 3 different legs to that axis. You've got HPA, which is the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal glands. Adrenal glands are your stress hormones, and they will always be prioritized. The second leg to that is the HPT, or your hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, and then the third is the one with the ovaries in it. Now they are prioritized per what will help your body to survive. So your adrenal glands that produce your cortisol and your adrenaline and your survival hormones, they will be prioritized first, because if you don't have them, then you'll die, right? So what your cortisol and your adrenaline do is give your body energy so that it can run, jump, climb away from the tiger or the avalanche. Making babies or using your ovaries, your reproductive system, when you're running from a tiger, it's not really necessary, and it's not going to help you survive. So what can happen is, if you are under a chronic stressful situation, you're chronically stressed, then you may lose optimal function of your reproductive system. And this is where we can see that females tend to lose their period, or their period becomes quite delayed, and that's all to do with that messaging. So the number one thing that you can do when you're starting to reset your hormones is to look at your diet and your lifestyle and just go back to basics. So basically what we want to do is we want to filter out all of those messages that are really confusing or that are not helpful. So it's easier to say don't stress, and that's not helpful at all. But what you want to do is identify where in your life you experience stress, or you experience overwhelm or worry or anxiety, anything that's not relaxation. And I can guarantee you there will be areas in your life that's happening. Even just being busy is a stress. So that's really important to know. And I think the other thing is that, if you're not getting your period, or your period is delayed, then that is a stress. You're worried, why isn't it happening? Especially if you're not pregnant, then that's looking at why is my period not regular? What's going on? Is there something sinister there? And so you tend to play on that and worry about it. So it's important to look at those aspects of your lifestyle. And if you breathe, do you have space in your day? Do you have space in your week to just stop and be and play and enjoy life? Or are you worrying and stressed and busy more often than you're not? Because that will signal to your body to prioritize your adrenal gland pathway rather than your reproductive pathway. The second thing you can do is really look at the chemical exposure that you have in your life. And the reason why this is so important is because chemicals act as what's called xenoestrogens. And so we could get really technical on this, but essentially looking at I won't because it can be really full on. So essentially what you want to do is look at things like your cleaning products, your cosmetic products, the types of containers that you use as well. So any form of plastic bottle or plastic containers, even if they're BPA free, they will still have chemical components in there. So the birds are just having a go at each other. So these chemicals act as xenoestrogens, and basically what it means is they act like estrogen in the body. And so in your body, your cells have these little alien arms, and they are called receptors. And each receptor, it's like a lock and a key. So each receptor is like the lock, and then the hormone, so for example estrogen, is the key, and it has a particular shape that only fits in that estrogen receptor or in that estrogen lock. So estrogen only will fit in that one receptor, and then it will be like carried through the cell, etc. So if progesterone came in, it wouldn't be able to go into that receptor, or if cortisol came in, it wouldn't be able to. However, xenoestrogens, because they act like estrogen and they look like estrogen, fit in that lock. And so what ends up happening is you get a buildup of estrogen in your body. You're both producing it and getting it from your environment. And so you may get what's called estrogen dominance, or an excess of estrogen, which will prolong that first half of your cycle, which could delay your ovulation. Lots of things can happen with that. So that's just one example as to how that could play out. So really looking first at the stress in your lifestyle, secondly at the chemical exposure that you have in your life, and thirdly looking at your diet. So where is there toxins? Where is there food-like products? And anything that is packaged and has ingredients that you don't understand, I call that a food-like product. It's not food. It's just pretending. It's something that's been man-made. So food-like products, in particularly packaged foods, excess sugar, alcohol, refined carbohydrates. You want to really pare it back to basics and go, am I eating real food? And a real food is something that like swam through the ocean and the rivers. It was plucked from the ground, or grew in the ground, or lived off the ground, or flew through the air. So like animals, plants, plant-based products, all that kind of stuff is real food, and it looks as close to its natural form as possible. So like roast potato or roast potato chip is a real food, but I would probably say crisps are not a real food, for example. So look at those three aspects in your life and strip them out, and then if you're still having issues with that, book in a consultation with me. You can do that at jennapool.com/bookings, and if you have any questions, just send me a message through my website. But what we can do is get really, really particular and individualistic about your treatment plan. And also, if you're at the point where you may need some hormone testing, I use a Dutch hormone test. They're very amazing, and they tell us all about how your hormones are interacting and metabolizing in the body. So it gives us more than just a pinprick picture of what happened on that one moment in that one day that you went and got your blood test for hormones. It's actually a urine sample, and very, very effective. So, but again, you want to get very specific. Maybe you don't need hormone testing. Maybe you need chemical exposure testing. So that's why I recommend booking a consultation, because then we can really tailor the type of testing that you get, and then tailor the treatment plan for your particular issues and your health goals as well. So I really hope that was helpful, and I hope you have a happy day.